Good afternoon, Sean Childs, fantasyanalyst.substack.com, also on Fantasy on SI. Going to do the NFBC free agent report for 8/31. There's 4 weeks left in the season. Very frustrating time of year. You're trying to make up some ground. You want some players to hit, your pitchers to pitch well. Don't have a lot of money, but you're at the mercy of where you are in the standings. And it's just, what can you do? You just keep managing. Hopefully, you get a couple of hot weeks, and this week should be an interesting as far as young pitchers that are getting jobs, and we'll work our way through it. So, just quickly, this is my main website for Fantasy on Substack, which most people get the information via email. 95% or more people, don't even go to the webpage and don't even know there was a webpage. But anyways, I'm going to take a quick look at the main event. I got 4 main events. I 2 under my name, and 2 I drafted for somebody else, and the other 2 I drafted for somebody else and managed all season. I have my best team is in 161st overall, but second in the league, and I'll take a look at it. But the rest of them are 90, 94, 91. All these teams were probably in this area at the end of June and really didn't hit for a month. And then I had a little bit of injuries in middle of August, a little bit, and just didn't make up any ground. But, things seem to be improving. But we pinned the tail on one donkey here, and we'll see what happens here. This main event is, let me just get rid of this, hide the screen. This main event, I am 4.5 points out of first place. Something must have happened here. I am in runs. I need 8 more runs, and I make up 2 points. 10 home runs, I could make up 2 points. I also could lose a lot right in here. 3 RBIs, 10 RBIs, I can make 2. Stolen base, I can make up 1, possibly 2. And batting average, I climbed and jumped all these people in batting average, but I also at the same time could lose 2 pretty quickly. So batting average is a really tricky category to manage. Either you have them or you don't. But I guess I moved up in that category, and that would be really important to hang in there. But like I said, so there's 8 or 9 points really on the offset side of the ball, and on the offense side of it, can't really make up ground. Strikeouts, I'm kind of gapped. For me to really make a run at these guys, are going to have to put in double starters. I am first in the ERA and whip in this league, but I'm not in close enough competition for these guys in wins. If I could get like 7 wins in a week and get to the back of this pack, then I got 3 weeks to kind of pick at it, and I can take a few more chances. Saves, I'm in a pretty good in the middle of the category, but there's also I could lose 3 points. And I was good in saves. I had 3 closers for a long time. That's why I was down in wins and strikeouts, and kind of playing the ERA whip more important, and we'll see where we find out where we land in strikeouts and Ks. But a couple of guys get traded to hurt me. If I can make up a little ground, I can also make about 4 or 5 points. But there's really not much in the free agent pool. And as I said, the ERA, I'm in first. I could lose 1, possibly 2 if I take too many double starters. In whip, I'm in a really good position. Is not going to lose any ground. So the trade-off is put double starters. You gain 2 points, and what is it worth? So anyways, that's what that one. The rest of them are kind of, hanging in there. I'll just take a quick look at the overall standings because of my friend Rick Thomas is hanging in there, and I've talked to him a few times. A guy that's first overall is kind of running away with it, but it's a dogfight for second. There's 3 teams within a couple of sticks, and that guy that's in that Greg Martin has climbed through the ceiling in his league, and he's actually in one of my main event. Really did a nice job fixing his roster. Started with I think maybe DeGrom and Crochet, and really did good in the saves. And he's just kind of piecemealed the offense. I haven't really followed that close, but I am in his league, and I am trying. So picking up players. Anthony Geller is a good player out of New York. I didn't even realize he climbed up that high, so he's a little bit back. And Chris Cosley, a longtime player in the NFBC, is in 6th, which is a great season for him. And this is just these things kind of cycle out. So anyways. Looks like the team in first overall would really need some injuries or really kind of slump, but really great year out of him, and we'll see what happens. But second place is I think it's 50,000, and first place I believe is 200,000. So without going, I don't want to spend too much time in looking at that because I am behind the 8 ball doing fantasy football drafts, writing, doing first week projections with season long projections and stuff. It's just been really busy week. And I I do have to have some entertainment on the weekends as well. So that's where we're at. So as far as the catcher position, Liam Hicks is a guy that's, splitting time between first base and catcher. Really doesn't have a lot of power. His RBIs rank better than his runs, but he's done pretty well over the last week. 6 for 19 with a home run, 2 RBIs, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. So in that particular case of that team that I was looking, if I needed my catcher was had batting average risk, it would potentially this would be the type of player. I think on that team I probably have. I think I have the catcher Baldwin from the Braves, so I think I'm okay. But if I had Hoppy on the team, who's been killing me for months, over a month, doesn't hitting home runs and stuff like that, it might be a wise move to make a trade for a catcher that would help. Riley showed a few weeks ago he did something, be kind of quiet. He's 46% owned, not doing too much. Cuero of Edgar Cuero of the White Sox, he's 5 for 18 over last week with 3 runs, 1 RBI. 278 average. He would be a player that is least helping the average side of it, but he's 79% owned. And Higashioka, I always pronounce this guy's name, and I'm going to butcher it, so I'm not going to think about it. So, but anyways, he's a guy that last week I picked up in the main event, a different one when I had Francisco Alvarez on all my main events, or at least 3 of them, and I had to cut him. Well, actually, I hung on to him because he got hit sliding into second base, and then he got hit in the minors, and believe it or not, he actually played in a minor league game yesterday and caught. He went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, so that's not exciting. But the catcher pitcher position is pretty thin. So if he's still in the free agent pool, he's worth a shot. His replacement, always happens. When a guy gets hurt on your team and somebody that's taking his job is replacing him, sometimes he's the best alternative. If I would have just gravitated to Luis Torrens when Alvarez was out. He's 93% owned, had a great week, 2 home runs, 8 RBIs, 4 runs, 4 for 15, just a okay batting average. But I would have really got 2 weeks of production on the home runs, RBI sign, would have made up a little ground. I would have got a decent player. But unfortunately didn't, but he had a good week. And what happens now is he had a good week. People gravitate to him and probably, struggle next week and not do that much. He's not a high-profile player, but he obviously is getting to get playing time, and he showed a little something, so he will be a player of interest. Pedro Pages or Pages or whatever they want to call him, whatever the accent there is. But anyways, he was another guy that I picked up last week for a fill-in for Alvarez, and he did hit 2 home runs this week, and he does have a little bit of batting average risk, but he does have power. Their other catcher, Pozo, they sent him put on disabled list. They called up a young player on their team, and I will go to St. Louis rather than, I think, what's his name, Crooks or something, Crooks. Let's see here, St. Louis. Yeah, Jimmy Crooks, and I breezed through the box scores. I was out of the house for a long time today. But he did hit his first major league home run, and he would be viable. He's more like a steady, maybe helping a little bit in batting average, not a lot of power, but at least a guy with some talent that is getting some playing time. But will be in all the free agent pools. At the catcher position, nothing out of the Pittsburgh catchers, not really doing too much there. Patrick Bailey, nothing. Connor Wong getting a little more playing time, not too much there. I actually would be interested in Sean Murphy, been kind of quiet, strikes out way too much, but if he plays a little bit more, or I actually thought the Braves might release him. I think he's a free agent after this year, but I think it's getting kind of late for that, for him to play in the postseason, but give him another chance to play with somebody. But I would give him a shot there. But they really, there isn't much other than, the like I said, the St. Louis guy, they called him up, and, the same cast of characters there in the free agent pool. But the Texas, Higo is Gushawa, whatever his name is. Why do I say that wrong? But anyways, all right, over to first base. There's really not, the top players, somebody getting more playing times. We only have Jared Trillo from Pittsburgh's really a middle infielder, so I'm not even going to talk about him at first base. Hicks is a catcher, not going to talk to him. Mead's getting a little more playing time. He is more of a middle infielder, so I'll skip him. Turkelson, nothing. He's on teams. And Duran, has been getting more at bats, but not really a true first baseman. Troy Johnson is a guy I talked with last week a little bit. He's 2% owned, 6 for 14 over the last week. He had 3 runs, 2 RBIs, but he had 30 steals as a first baseman. So he is a player that if you're looking to make up speed and you can put him at a corner position or even at DH, he has the potential to maybe show a little burst there. But he's not many people going to gravitate to him. But like I said, if you can get steals into multiple positions and you need to make up that category, he could maybe get 2 or 3 in a week, and that would be helpful. Nobody else. Franz hit a home run this week, but not enough playing time. Mentioned Wilmer Flores. It's something he was really good at the beginning of the year. Got dropped in a lot of teams. Was really quiet, not getting playing time. Hit a home run this week, and I believe that he had one. He had one last week too. So he had a home run last week. He had 2 runs, 2 RBIs. So he's trending up a little bit, but he's not getting a lot of hits. He's on 8 for his last 33. Nothing special there, but he has done it before. So he would be a potential person that could get hot late in the year. And let's see here. I'm going to check in Higashioka Strand. I'm not sure 100%. They changed those rules in the majors when they call up players, and some of these players that are in the minors that maybe could get some more playing time. But Strand is a guy that has power, kind of underperformed my expectations this year. I had him in a few teams. He got me last year with an injury, was hurt again, and he's been quiet. But it's not bad over this last since August 19th, August 30th, last 10 games. 11 for 35 with, it's hard to see this thing behind my camera, 6 strikeouts, 3 walks. He had 3 home runs, 8 RBIs, hitting .314. I would think that they would call him up. I know Cincinnati's depth chart's a little better than it was. Steer's been playing better. They're shifting him over to first base, and they traded for Hayes. So it's kind of, I guess Andujar could play in the outfield. So there really isn't a spot for him to play every day, but he is a guy that has talent, could hit some home runs, but it's not like you're going to go run to the window to pick him up. But I do think that potentially he could, surprise. But there's really just nothing really at first base that's, somebody that's a free agent that would be kind of stand out, and you're at the mercy of what's there. And maybe there's a guy with 3 at bats, and I'm not, seeing them right now, and I'm just, like I said, walking in the door and reading through this the player pool. At second base, Nacho Alvarez has got more playing time over the last couple of weeks. Still 67% owned. This last week he was two weeks, 6 for 21, 7 for 21. This week he was only 4 for 23, but 7 RBIs and 9 runs, probably okay. He needs to hit a home run or steal some bases. Not really showing much. I have him in my NL only league as I got beat at the second base position all year, and I have him in my lineup due to an injury. Brooks Baldwin, I've been chasing his tail for too long. He's got a home run in back-to-back weeks. 3 runs in both weeks is pretty good. In one of the weeks, he only had 14 at bats. He should get more playing time. I've been saying this multiple times for other injuries, and he didn't. But Vargas is out. He got, I think Judge was running to first base, had his hand out there and ran into him laying on the ground. It looked like it was pretty serious. I don't think he's a hold, and I guess I should just see if there's a better update on that injury, because I will be crossing the, when the guys are hurt late this time of year, I just assume just drop them. There's really just not an update other, than, what it was, a contusion or something that they said. But it looked pretty bad when it happened. But anyways, even Baldwin, he's got 4 home runs over the last 4 weeks. Got some RBIs. He does have a steal. Played really well in the minors, but I've been tooting his home all year. And if you listen to this, I appreciate it. There's only a handful or, a few people that are doing it, or at least tracking what I'm saying on here, and I appreciate it. And we'll just kind of grind out the year. Thomas Sagasi for St. Louis is a guy that is a player I think that's a pretty good option to help in batting average, and I would consider him if I had the right team structure. The last 3 weeks, he is 18 for 65. That's not bad with 8 runs, 6 RBIs. So not much there. Still not being productive with home runs. His minor league profile is definitely higher with power. He has 2 steals over that last 3 weeks, which is a better side of his profile. But he is a guy that had 20 home runs. I think last year, was it last year? I think it's 2024. He had 21 home runs and 71 RBIs between the majors and minors. Only hit 253, but he did hit 331 the year before, and 319, 381, 303 over that number of at bats from high A to double A over I guess it's 2 seasons. He had 317, 40 homers, 178 RBIs, and that's over 898 at bats. So that's a 20 home run hitter. And he did have 23 steals. So that's basically a 20-10 guy with a little better than that because it's only on 450 at bats. He is getting playing time because Donovan is on the injury list for St. Louis. Brendan Donovan, formerly of the series, Ray Donovan or whatever. No, it's not him, not the same guy. But so Donovan's progress has stalled. So that would be good for Sagasi. They did call it this Pristo guy, but he's not going to get enough playing time as right now. So I think the Sagasi guy could potentially be helpful. And I could see a little power spurt coming from him because he is hitting the ball better. And, sometimes when they hit their first home run, they hit a couple, not a big power guy as far as expecting big things, but at least, last 4 weeks, maybe get 2 or 3 and, at least hold ground and maybe help you in batting average. Let's see. I'm going to go down here. Sagasi. Chase Meredith got called back up. He's a guy that will help him bat an average. He was on the DL for a little bit. So last 2 weeks, 6 for 19, good batting average. Last week he was okay. He had 5 runs, 2 RBIs, got a steal in back-to-back weeks. His home runs, he's only got 1 home run over his last about 10 periods, and he missed some time somewhere in here. There was an injury, but more of a low-speed batting average type of guy, but not really an impact player. But he is playing a little bit better and maybe do something. They had some injuries at Pittsburgh and middle infield, or somewhere in the infield position to help Trillo get a little more at bat. So he's playing shortstop right now. Ryan Kreider's a guy who's been kicking around for minors, hasn't really developed. So there is an opportunity to get at bats for him, and he is playing better recently. Let me just see. I'll just click on him over here just to see. Not a high ceiling guy for me. Last year he had 9 home runs in the majors over 446 plate appearances, 394 at bats. But over his last, say, 7 games, 11 for 25, 8 runs, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, 5 walks, 5 strikeouts, 1 steal. So he's playing better, getting playing time, but chasing probably a guy that's going to be overall have a dull profile. They did call up this Gavin. He is a player, I think I wrote about him earlier in the season for one of my minor league reports, and he was playing pretty well. He's 20 years old, a little bit older player. Hit 272 at AAA this year with 18 home runs, 55 RBIs, and 41 runs, which that seems pretty good. But the best part of it is it was over 246 at bats on that part of it. And there must have been a trade somewhere in there that he got traded from, Indianapolis. I think one's Pittsburgh and one's Kansas City. But he played much better when he got to Pittsburgh. He played better when he was with Kansas City. In Pittsburgh, he hasn't really kind of been at the same level, as far as power. Last year, he had 19 home runs, over 450 at bats. But a guy a little bit of power, not really showing a lot of batting average there, but he get called up. He should get playing time. Journeyman player. He's been okay recently, but not a lot of power. But he's not going to cost more than $1. Put him in for a week if you got a problem in middle infield, and those 2 guys will be on Pittsburgh. Players. Mead's a guy that's filling in for the White Sox, and maybe that would be the player that gets rewarded from the Miguel Vargas injury. But he's 7 RBIs over the last 4 periods, only 5 runs, no home runs, 1 steal. Batting average okay in 3 of the 4 weeks, but not really not much to get. I know he's a talented guy, but he just hasn't really kind of hit his major league stride. I did pick up, talk about Geloff last week that he was doing better and he got hot. I got called up and he had to face Skubal this week. Struck out 3 or 4 times in the first game. Struck out the next night, and then he did have one nice game, 1 home, 4 RBIs. But he has been in the majors for this week. He had 18 at bats. He struck out 11 times, 3 for 18. I think he is actually a sell, not a pickup, unless their schedule is favorable and they're playing at home. So they're at St. Louis, they're playing the Angels, and then they play Boston and Cincinnati. I mean, he does have a power speed combination, but based on his strikeouts, there is going to be some batting average drag. And I think the team that I picked him up, I think I will have to launch him, because I just don't think there's enough. But I mean, he was hot in the minors before he got. I think he had 7 home runs over, last 2 or 3 weeks, and just really looked like he was moving in the right direction, a better approach. Let me just bring him up and just to show that brief stats. Let's see, Geloff. Let's see. And I don't even know. I actually thought the day when he struck out 4 times against Skubal and 2 the next night. Last night he struck out 3 times. He might have faced DeGrom, but over here he had, since August 12th, over 12 games, he actually had 8 home runs, 15 RBIs over 12 games. It was pretty impressive. He hit 311. Strikeouts were 13 out of 55 players. So he was controlling the strike zone better in the minors. And maybe he does better. I mean, he did, but he was a guy that probably shouldn't strike out as much as that he has, and he does have power, and he does have the potential to steal 20 bases if he ever played, ever had 550 at bats. But Massey has done all right for Kansas City, 6 for 16 since he's been battling injury most of the year. But weekly, he got called up. So that's the first week he's been back. So he's one run, 2 RBIs, and I want to just check in because he was a guy that I thought would be a better player, and he hasn't reached that level. And I know that he has missed time for an injury, and I want to see if he has shown enough to like I'm talking, the players that could help him bat and average, and he has that kind of potential, and he is like a guy that could hit maybe 15 home runs. We got a 14 and a 15 home runs for him over 428 and 332 at bats. This year he has struggled all year, 2 home runs, 16 RBIs, but he's got a 4-game hitting streak since he's been back off the DL. 1 run, 2 RBIs. That's all right. And let's see what he was doing in the minors. Let's go back to July 27th. So about a little over 3 weeks. He hit 262, 17 for 65 with 12 runs, 3 home runs, 8 RBIs, 4 walks, 14 strikeouts, no steals. But he is a guy. He is a player that I think that's decent. Will he get enough playing time for them? They've had him in the lineup recently. He's still trying to hang around. So they got him. It looks like they got him in, competing for at bats in left field. I have to believe that Caglione has to get called up tomorrow. I mean, it's just crazy. I guess the last 3 games he went 2 for 8, but he did hit a home run with 3 RBIs. But since June 12th, so when he missed some time, or he got sent to when he had that injury, so he's 385, 17 runs, 25 for 65, 5 home runs, 16 RBIs, and 1 steal with 7 walks and 11 strikeouts. So hopefully he's called up tomorrow. I would think that it makes sense for the Royals, but I do not make the calls there. But Massey, he would add another player at to clog up the DH position, or potentially in the outfield. And then Massey, I don't know if he's got to jump Adam Frazier, which would probably be viable. And then sometimes they play India in the outfield. So it's a potentially that Massey could get some playing time, but nobody is going to fight for him. He is going to cost $1, and he is 0% owned. Let's see. Enrique Hernandez came off the DL for the Dodgers. Still think there's like to see somebody else called up there. But the rest of the players that Romy Gonzalez is playing pretty well, but unfortunately, once they add a Lowe, he's a little player, tough at a time, continues to hit for a decent batting average, but I don't know if he's going to be helpful. Alex Freeland, 11 at bats over the last week, had 8 strikeouts. You can can him; he's gone. But yeah, 14% on. Yeah, there's really not. I guess Ritter is a player over only had 5 at bats over the last week, so that's not enough. I guess Christian Moore hit a home run. He's 11% on. He's a swing and miss player for the Angels. He got called up earlier, had an injury. I think he had one good week out of the gate here. He had 2 home runs, 7 RBIs, over 20 at bats, but he only hit 250. Then he had an injury or something, missed some time. But over the last 3 weeks, he really hasn't done enough. But he is a decent talent. But swing and miss, and that can invite for job loss risk down the road. So let's see, shortstop position. Yeah, the top. Brooks is the highest there. Blaze Alexander just continues to do something. But the player is, I think, Lawler. Lawler finally got called up for. And he's 84% on. He got called up first game he played. He went 0 for 4 and struck out 3 times. They didn't have him the next night. They were facing the Dodgers, so get him in there. But he would think that he would get a pretty good run there. But he's, could. And they played him at third base, I believe. But that could be a factor for Alexander's playing time down the stretch. Sagassi, talked about him. Meredith, Lowe, same characters. I'm not going to talk about the Darnell and the Rees. Not high enough profile of either speed or power for me. Dubon, Mauricio will play at multiple positions, but he just really hadn't done much. Duran was getting a little more playing time, been kind of quiet. And then, DeJong, was helpful a couple of weeks ago. He had some home runs, been kind of quiet again, not doing anything, but he does have power. But let's see if there's somebody that's just getting low at bats that could potentially be a guy that could be thing. I do think Trey Sweeney. Somebody went on the DL for Detroit. That eventually he'll be at least a viable fantasy player. Joey Ortiz, one on the DL. I wonder if he'll be back on track. So he's going to be back. I had him in one main event. I cut him, but he's the 35% on. Looks like he'll have just spent minimal time on the DL. So if you wanted to give him a shot, I think that's viable. And there's not really. The rest of these guys are no at bats. So really, this just late in the year, you're just looking for somebody to get at bats, and sometimes it's recycling veterans, and other times you're just looking for what slips through the crack, and hopefully somebody cuts somebody that shouldn't. Due to, they have too many players at a position, or they're trying to get extra relievers, or even potentially get rolling double starters to try to make a run at wins and strikeouts. So at third base, it's just really, I guess Moncada he didn't do well last week, but he's at least a 37% owned. He's getting playing time. 2 weeks ago, he had a pretty good week where he had 3 home runs, 3 solos, but he was only 4 for 20. So he's 6 for his last 31. Been relatively quiet, but like earlier, like I mentioned last week, that he had that 6-week run where he had 2-1-1, 2-1-1. So he hit, the power is there, and he potentially could have a good week and be helpful at some point. So it looks like Cleveland had an injury at Arias was rotating in. House just really hasn't fired. This would be a player, Connor Norby. So he would probably be one of the better players picked up this week. He's 79% owned. 79% free agent. He was supposed to be a top rookie player, and he just came back. He missed about six scoring periods for the year. Looks like he was trending a little bit higher before that. He had 2 home runs, 8 RBIs. 6 RBIs and 8 runs over 3-week stretch. Should be helpful in batting average. Will chip in and steals, and he does have enough power where he could hit 20. So I would think that he would be one of the better waiver wire options this week, especially for somebody that's looking for somebody at third base or the corner position. In Miami, just continues for me. like I don't think they're that great of a name baseball team as far as like name value, but they continue to have these games where they score a lot of runs, and they're kind of, I'm not saying doing it with mirrors, but they're doing it with, surprising players that you wouldn't think. And you watch like the Atlanta Braves, got a bunch of big names, and Olsen's got one home run in forever, and Acuna hasn't really, done much since he came off the DL. And so, but like anyways, like Miami's, I guess the point is Miami's scoring runs. I probably cut Nolan Arenado on this team. It looks like he had a little setback. He's getting shoulders checked out, so I don't know. I think that's kind of a negative for him. I have him in 2 other main events. I had him a lot, and he's basically a waste of time. I did replace him with Jung from Texas when he was out there, so I've got something and upgraded the position at least. But I also took about 3 or 4 weeks from Arenado not doing anything. So I guess he's pretty much as far as like being an attractive fantasy player, it seems like it is over. Maybe he was a juicer, maybe he was not. As far as the outfield position, let's just say we're over 31 minutes. We're kind of flying through here due to lack of players. Jeremiah Jackson is a 72% owned, so he's free agent, 28% of leagues. He has just been a guy that's been phenomenal, like flip of his career. Didn't look like much of a prospect. Had a really hot stretch in the minors, but he's last 3 weeks in the majors. He's 23 for his last 64 with 11 runs, 2 home runs, and 13 RBIs. He is a helpful player. He struck out a little bit more this week, but all of those weeks, batting average is helpful. I don't know. I think I got him in AL auction league, which I'm dead in the water because of my pitching, but he is a free agent in this league, and I think I would be interested. I don't probably have between $15 and $20 left on my free agent thing, about 4 moves a week. I probably don't need any pitchers, so I'm not really going to go after him. But I mean, a lot of players I would be interested in him and Norby if they're in the free agent pool. So those are 2 pretty good players that are available. Alec Thomas has played better over the past week, struck out 8 times, but 7 for 20. But he's a 23% free agent. Harrison Bader looked a little bit better. It's kind of splits time. 8 for last 19 with a home run, 2 RBIs. Really isn't running as much as I thought. Sometimes he's a decent fill-in. Last year, I think Clark Olson had him on his roster, and he ran a little bit better last year. So I guess he had 17 steals. His homers are up a little bit, but he just doesn't get enough playing time. Like you get him in, he doesn't play, and he's just kind of frustrated. But if you put him in, you might, especially if they're playing at home, maybe you could get something out of him in a deep format. And obviously the main event, the NFBC, is long. Pham has done a little bit better. He's 12% owned. Nathan Lukes is a player that's done pretty good for Toronto. Didn't really hit home runs this week. He really did that a couple weeks ago for when he went to Colorado. He had a monster 3-game series, but he's still getting enough at bats, and he is a free agent in 25% of leagues. I did push Matos last week, and he did play. He started off the week kind of quiet, but he had a 4 for 5 night. So 6 for 18. He was 5 for 15 last week. So he's 9 runs, 3 home runs, 7 RBIs, and 2 steals. Pretty good all around player. I think he's a better player than people give him credit for. I probably didn't have the roster spot due to whatever I'm doing, and I didn't pick him up. But he will draw a little more attention because now he's at back-to-back weeks. Probably a guy it's going to cost. I don't even know what people have for money. Like I'm shooting dollars just to pick up best available players, and some people probably could have $50 to $100 left. You never know, but they could be out of it, or they could be contenders and just not had as many problems. Starlin Marte has been getting at bats. He did better last week, but this week he's been a little more quiet. Last week he had 2 home runs and 2 steals. This week 3 for 17 with 5 runs is okay, 2 RBIs. So I think that he is a reasonable fill-in, especially if you need a little bit of speed and a little bit of power. He has a long resume, and he tends to be at least a player that you think would hit for a neutral batting average. Let's see, these are all the guys higher owned. Kepler hit a home run. Can be streaky, another Philadelphia player. Bryce Teodosio is a guy he finally stole a base. I thought he would run a little bit more, and he's got no playing time. I mean, look at the little Nolan Jones guy. Had him on the roster early in the year. You gave him a chance, didn't do anything. And then this week, He hits 2 home runs for the week, steals a base, 5 for 14. But overall, it's just been like a disappointing year for him. Strikeouts still too high, 93. Strikeouts are 305 at bats. He only has 5 home runs. That's crazy. 8 steals. Who'd have thought he'd have more steals than home runs at this point? I mean, I guess last year he had 5 steals and 3 home runs, but and back in 2023 when he was a thing the following year in the draft season, he was a 2020 player, but he did strike out a ton. But his batting average covered up some of his risk. And Troy Johnson talked about him, and let's go down a little bit lower. And it's just like there is really not much here. I mean, Hellman is done pretty good for Texas once Evan Carter won the DL, and I'll just look him up because he will probably be like the 3rd best option to be picking up for, and somebody needs in the outfield. Actually, that Freeman's still utility only, but Hellman is what did he do in the minors this year? So he was only hitting 245 in the minors, or 216 bats. He had 8 home runs, 11 steals. It's probably a guy that would be a 20-25 player with a little bit of batting average if that translated for a full season. A couple years with that in 2024, he hit 14 home runs and 12 steals over 278 at bats. So yeah, pretty guy that could hit 20 home runs and steal 20 bases. And then he's flashed over the last few games for Texas, and I'll just bring that back up if I can get my mouse to move. Yeah, so he's got a 4-game hitting streak with 6 RBIs, 2 home runs, scored 3 runs. So he is getting playing time. Like I said, the Carter injury has helped him, and Carter is obviously out for the year. And so he had a couple home runs back here right before he got called up. So he's got his power is trending forward. So, like I said, he's one of the he'd be in one of the probably a top 4 player to be picked up this week, and depending on like what your team need would be. Sanchez, Conforto. I'm going to preach it one last time. I don't know if they'll do it, and if you're following me, I still think Ruiz should be starting over Conforto. And if they do expand the rosters and they need to add somebody with speed, he would be that person. Will they give him enough playing time? I don't know. I am rooting for that because I think that if he got playing time, he could be really a helpful player for 1/6 of the season. And I would like to see him play. And he's really kind of a Billy Bean. You stole a guy that's really good for $1 and you just got to give him his playing time. But anyways, he August 30th. So he played last night. He went 0 for 3. Had the night off before, but he's just been really, I'll just go back his last 28 games in the minors. He was called up for about 3 weeks to the Dodgers. They really didn't give him at bats, but over 112 at bats over 28 games. He had scored 34 runs, 8 home runs, 26 RBIs, 19 steals. He had 25 walks, 23 strikeouts. It's just like this guy should be in the majors, and like. I get it that he hasn't done anything with the Dodgers, but you got to give him playing time, give him a chance to do something. And even last year for the A's, they kind of didn't do anything. But the year before, he got experience, and he stole, a bunch of bases. He had 67 steals for the A's, and I don't know. I mean, I get it. They look at their exit velocity and stuff like that. Doesn't line up, but Altuve hits home runs and they land in the seats. But a guy that's going to be a difference maker in speed. If they gave him at bats, I mean, probably needs an injury, but I'm saying Conforto's hitting under 200, and I think that Ruiz is worth twice as much as him. But that's just me talking, and tends to be early on players, and maybe next year he will get his chance. We'll see what happens, but it'll be interesting to see if what the Dodgers do with their outfield and make any changes. Outman got called up for Minnesota, and really not doing too much. We're on the second page here, so Schneider for Davis Schneider for Toronto. So second base outfield, only 8 at bats, but he's just, he's over the last 4 periods got, not a ton of at bats, 8, 10, and 8, but he's making the best of it. He last 4 periods he scored 9 runs, but he hit 4 home runs, 14 RBIs, stole a base. Helpful. He was a couple of years ago. He was a player that gave a fantasy team some help. Last year he had 13 home runs, but the year before he was more helpful. He had 146 at bats. He had 10 home runs, 29 RBIs, and you thought he was going to come out of that year and he'd be better in 2024. He was not. His strikeout rate spiked and he went down. But this year, his strikeout rate's still pretty high, 43 strikeouts and 116 at bats. So he's more of a guy you're going to put in for a week, and he's a flash player and not really much else. The only other person that's viable, I think, is the Texas Freeman. He's he's easy to miss because he's sometimes when they're utility only, you can kind of bypass him. Let's see, at bats. Where are you, Freeman? Yeah, so Freeman only 8 bats for a week, so he's eligibility wise. He's got 5 games at third, 3 in the outfield, 4 at second base. So he's going to take a little more time to get a position. Since he's been called up, 1 home run, 4 RBIs, and not much there. But he was a player that played pretty well this year in the minors for Texas. Let me see if I get back to that. Let's see. Freeman, where I am. All right, so second base is where his best chance for playing time would be. But, so this year he had 19 home runs and 71 RBIs, 8 steals, was hitting 336 over 384 at bats. So he's playing pretty well. He had 15 home runs and 14 home runs and 15 steals last year at 264. So kind of a guy, if he could play at second base, that could give you a little bit of power and speed. Not playing every day. Maybe it's more of a buy and hold, but just something to keep an eye on there. But pretty much like there's really only 3 or 4 players that are of interest, I would think, unless I miss somebody. And obviously there's the outliers in some other leagues. So the pitching side of it, where people are kind of chasing wins and strikeouts. So this is going to be an interesting week because now we've got a little bit of wave of young players that got called up. Peyton Tolles for the Red Sox got called up, and he had a really good start. He pitched like 5 1/3 shutout innings. He had 2 guys on base, and the reliever gave him up. But he looked really electric and looked like he was going to be a really good piece to the Red Sox. And I think he pitched 90 something innings in the minors this year with 133 strikeouts. They pushed it. He's going to push back. He's pushing back to the end of the week. He's going to start on Friday. I think they're going to try to stretch him out where they might be able to get some innings in out of him in the playoffs. Yes, the Red Sox making the playoffs. But he's a high ceiling throw, 98, 100 miles an hour. Looked really good, 8 strikeouts. But for the year, over his first 3 levels, high A, double A, and triple A, he had pitching 20 games, 18 starts, 91 innings. So he's only averaging about 5 innings a game, but he had 133 strikeouts, 3.04 ERA, and 0.99 WHIP. But they drafted him in the second round in 2024, but he didn't pitch in the minors when he actually got drafted. And I'll just look it up because somebody was asking about Baseball Reference. I just want to see what he was doing as far as like what he did in college and the stats. And I'm sure I looked it up. Peyton Toll. Let's see. So when you're looking at Baseball Reference, you just want to go to the minor league stats, and you can get it to show their college stuff. So obviously in the minors this year, that's all he pitched. So you just switch it to college. So in 2024, he had pitched 81 innings, had 125 strikeouts, went 7-4 with a 3.21 ERA and a 1.15 WHIP. But he looked like he really kind of developed that year, and he's really kind of come on off of that. With the 2 previous seasons, he really his ERA was in the 4s. Strikeouts were okay. Even the command was 2 years ago. But he looks like he really kind of blossomed, and he was a player that was playing, 2 years ago, he was, hit 311, 13 home runs, 50 RBIs. So he was a 2-way player, a little less in his last year. But I really like him. I'm a Red Sox area. You get to see the young players going. They're going to call up, I think somebody told me that they're going to call up Harrison tomorrow, and I should look at the probable starters to see, just to confirm that. Yeah, Harrison's listed but not confirmed. But they call up Harrison because, like I talked about a couple times, like May's at the end of his rope. He's getting to his innings count. He's another guy they're going to shift to the bullpen. What they do, and they already got rid of Buehler. But Harrison will get a chance this week. I don't think he looks like they got 6 starters lined up, but they could always bounce May, move Giolito back to Saturday, and Harrison can get 2 starts. So if he shows anything, because Harrison is hasn't pitched a lot of innings overall this year in the minors, but Toll is the top. For me, he's the top pitcher because he's only pitched 90 something innings. So I think that they can get 4 or 5 starts out of him down the stretch. And Red Sox are got some good chemistry, winning some games. The bullpen's okay, but he would be my top choice. And the Mets pitcher would be the second choice. Let's see, for he's had a really phenomenal year, but the problem with him is that I think he's only going to make 4 starts for sure, and maybe that's all we're looking for. But he's been pretty phenomenal. He pitched pretty good in his first start. He gave up 1 run over 5 innings with 6 hits, no walks, 6 strikeouts. He was also a player that had a really good minor league season, but he's probably I think he was at 118 innings going into this, and last year he pitched, say, I think 100 maybe 108 or something like that. Let me just bring it up there. I looked at him, but his stats line up really, really well. Let's see. So this year he pitched a AA and AAA. So going into this, he pitched in the minors this year 113.2 innings. So he's pitched 5. So he's pitched 118 innings. And he struck out in the minors 179 strikeouts, 113 innings. Only gave up 58 hits, but he does give up some walks, 47. So can invite a little bit of problems, but he was pretty much phenomenal. But the year before, he pitched 103, 104, so 113 innings over the previous 3 levels last season. So I think maybe the Mets could push him to 140 innings this year. They kind of need somebody to kind of hang in the playoff race. I don't know if they would, what they're going to do with the postseason, but if they're, can make a run. But he is a guy that's going to give strikeouts. The Mets need him, but I do like because of the number of innings, I do like the Red Sox pitcher a little bit more. I know Bradish is going to be the third guy that's going to be pretty popular. He had 10 strikeouts, put him on the radar. But the Bradish for me is he pitched really well. A couple years ago before his surgery, I believe it was Tommy John, and I'm not going to research injuries on this, but he is a pitcher that in 2000, let me just go back in that year, I think a 2.83 ERA. In 2023, before his injury, he kind of had a breakout season. It was a breakout season. He 168 innings, 168.2 innings, 168 strikeouts, 2.83 ERA, a good WHIP 1.04. And went 12-7 for the Orioles, and then he missed some time because of Tommy John or whatever it was. And then when he was pitching in the minors this year, he really wasn't that great at AAA. He made 4 starts, and he had given up. He had 19 strikeouts over 16.1 innings. That was good, but he gave up 20 hits, 2 home runs, and 7 walks. So his ERA and WHIP were kind of crooked. But a lot of times, sometimes these guys are working on stuff and going through it, and trying to get to inform. But I think the temptation of him is the Orioles aren't really that great of a team, but the temptation is that he has 10 strikeouts, and you've got to put him on the even par with those other 2. And I think the other 2 players are better than him. So I think that he could potentially struggle. But the other one is Seymour. I talked about Seymour. I was really on to him last week, and my teams. I should have had him. I got him on one main event. I should have had him on all. Because if he slipped through in half the leagues, but he pitched twice this week. I think he got 2 wins this week. He pitched only 5 innings in both. They need to stretch him out. He was pitching in relief for a while there, and I believe he got 2 wins, and he had 16 strikeouts. He gave a few more hits today, but he was pretty good. He had 2 years really good in the minors. ERA of under 3 for a bunch of starts, and I'll just go to him just because I don't want to butcher the stats here, but let's see, Seymour. And he's a guy that's not a real, doesn't have a big fastball, lefty, but he had plenty of success at AAA. 26 games, 25 starts over 2 seasons, 2.51 ERA, 1.14 WHIP, 167 strikeouts over 140 innings, and he's carried that over in his 2 starts. I don't think he's a lock for everything, but I would probably rate him ahead of Bradish if he was there for me, just because I think he's shown a little bit more, and Bradish is coming off an injury, And we can see like Woodruff for Milwaukee pitched pretty good for 3 or 4 starts and kind of faded the last couple, and it looks like he's not really the same pitcher. But so Bradish is number 3 there for me, and Seymour would be would rank 4th. Seymour would rank 3rd, and Bradish would rank 4th. Let's see if there's any. So Logan Allen's in the free agent pool. He's more of a guy that's a double start guy. Taiwan Walker, nothing. Sears got called up, and they struggled again, so forget about him. Liberatore, if you haven't, Liberatore from the St. Louis, if you have him on your team, you might as well get rid of him. He should have been gone for a while. So Bradley is the guy that got called up for last week, and he just got bombarded, and he gave up 9 hits and 7 runs, and they really kind of drilled him in the first inning, but he bounced back, and he gave up one hit over 5 innings, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. But he looked decent earlier in the year. He got sent to the minors. But they said this week he looked at a scouting report for the first time, and the light bulb went off, and maybe he'd be a better pitcher. But I have him on a few rosters, and I'm holding him, running out of time to get some usage out of him. But he's a player that, I would rank him because Harrison's going to be in some pools. I think I would rank him behind Harrison, and I would rank actually Harrison ahead of Bradish because Red Sox are winning games. I think he'll have a better chance there. I think he does have a lot of talent and high ceiling. Is he going to hit it and get pitched 6 innings in the game? I'm not sure, but he potentially could get strikeouts, and I think that I like him there. Luis Morales is another pitcher that let's see. So he got called up. It was kind of interesting that he's in the pool because he had pitched the last 2 periods, pitched pretty well. He pitched 5 innings, gave up 1 run, he had 5 strikeouts, and came back with 6 innings, gave up 2 hits, 1 run, no walks, 6 strikeouts, and then he has 3rd consecutive showing where he gave up pitched 7 innings and gave up no runs and 7 strikeouts. So he's trending really in the right direction there. I think I'm going to look at him for just to double check, but his command was a little more sketchy for in the minors, and he's kind of made some growth in that area. And let's see here. Yeah, so he had so when he was pitching at AAA this year, he had given up 20 walks and 7 home runs over 47 innings. So he's kind of overachieved in ERA and WHIP for me, and his walks are still about the same. He walked 10 over 22.2 innings. So I think even though he's pitched pretty well, and I'm going to look to see who he faces here, I think that he's a little more dangerous. So because he lines up for double starts on the road, I think people are going to gravitate to him over some other people. They'll probably gravitate to him over Harrison because of he's pitched in the majors, had success. But I think that you're going to take the double starts when you can, but the walks, when you put guys on base and you give up some home runs once in a while, you can kind of get in trouble. So it wouldn't surprise me to see him back up a little bit. I do have to look up this Barrett guy for the A's too. They called him up. He said nothing. He just a bunch of strikeouts and walked 2 innings. But something. He's just a guy that got called up, and I need to know at least get a mental picture of what I thought of him quick. And he walked too many guys, and he's gone. So Morales is another one. Let's see here. Corbin, Seymour, Irvin. Struggle. Yeah. So Martin Perez, 61% free agent. Last week he was the guy that got picked up. He had double starts, kind of not done. And I haven't been a fan of this guy, but he pitched today too. And I know that he pitched 5 innings and had like a 3-2 lead and pitched pretty good. But he gave 7 shutout innings with no walks, 5 strikeouts. Pitched all right last week. Gave up no runs and 5 strikeouts. Pitched okay today. So he is not a high profile, but he is capable of stringing some starts together. And you probably missed on a pretty good double start week if you didn't pick him up last week. But I would gravitate towards him. Let's see who he's facing this week. White Sox, where are you? So Perez is facing Detroit. Not a great matchup. In the following week, he was going to face Tampa Bay at home. So, but you take what you can. So he's probably going to get the second to last week. He would get double starts again. So, but Perez for sure would be inning. Not that he's going to cost a lot of money, but he is obviously a success. I mean, even if you these days, this time of the year, if you bid $2, you're hoping to steal some players, but somebody's going to bid, 5 to 10 on them. The people that have money, hopefully there's not enough of them, kind of trying at this time of the year. Let's see here. I'm just trying to see if there's anybody else, and it's harder to go through the the short list, because you can sort in strikeouts and starts and just see if somebody pops up there. Jacob Latz guy was a reliever converted to a starter for Texas. But let me just go through the probables, the starters, just to swing through it and make sure I don't miss anybody. So pretty much on Arizona, same pitchers. Same thing for the Athletics. We talked about the 2 players there that are different. Double starts for Morales. He's a pickup, but I expect him to struggle. I guess Sale, I don't think he would have slipped through the cracks. Could be available in the 12-teamer, but he got called back up. He did okay in his first start. Talked about Toll. We talked about, they can just confirm. It looks like they confirmed Bello for tomorrow, and it's kind of tentative for Harrison. I think the announced starter, yeah. So it looks like Harrison is maybe on Wednesday, so it's not for sure on that. So unless they mention it, I'm not looking at the news, so I guess I can click on him just to see if what they say for him. I don't want to be butchering it. Somebody's saying he's a candidate to start for Monday, but it looks like they're moving their rotation around. So hopefully, and he pitched earlier in the week. He only pitched 3 innings. Gave up 1 run, had 3 walks, 3 base runners, and 2 strikeouts. So I thought they were calling him up last week, and kind of just giving him some innings, but they didn't. I guess Asad moved for the Cubs. In his first game, he gave up 3 runs over 6 innings, only 1 strikeout. He's a guy that was helpful last year for a stretch. Doesn't strike out a lot of guys. The Cubs win games, and he's in the rotation due to somebody having an injury, I believe. But he looks like the following week he's not lined up, so he may be 1 spot start if he's there. Not much on Cincinnati. Cleveland, Messick guy is another guy that looked like he was going to have double starts last week, got called up. And let me see what his ownership is, just to see, because he was a player that should have been picked up last week. He's only 14% owned, but he pitched good in his first start. But they didn't give him double starts, so he's going to line up for. He pitched 7 shutout innings with 4 hits, no walks, 6 strikeouts, and he only had 1 walk in his previous game. So his 2 games in majors have looked much better in the minors. But if he's in the pool, I'm going after him, and I would probably put him in the Bradish range, and I might rank him a little bit ahead of him. But he does have a little bit of command issues that could creep into the equation. But late in the year, it's the best looking kid on the street. So we're not going to do Colorado, and don't care about anybody else on the White Sox. Obviously, talked about Perez. Detroit, no changes. Houston, same guy. Looks like they got Luis Garcia for lined up to start. He's going to be activated. So he was showing something like, yeah. So he at AAA, it pitched 17.1 innings over 4 starts. So he's only, short innings. He's probably hasn't got the pitches up. He had 20 strikeouts, only 4 walks. But he was progressing. I think that he was moving in the right direction. I don't think he's in the free agent pool in any league. I don't think we can get him in the main event. But I don't think they called him up yet. Let's see, Houston. I mean, this would show him. I know he's a 0% owned. But yeah, but anyway, so I don't think he's in the free agent pool, but I'm not gonna waste your time or my time on that. So let's see if there's anybody else. Houston, Garcia over here, Valdez, pretty much the same. Nothing on Kansas City. Ferris as a tentative thing for Angels. Don't know him. Looks like he's got some strikeout potential. Walks a few, too many guys. Home runs are okay. If he does get called up, he's making the dump from AA to AAA. AA to the majors. Last 4 starts have been okay. 32 strikeouts over 23.2 innings with 1 home run. So he's pitching better. Worth a shot if he makes it to the pool. He's not in the pool yet, but just somebody to think about for maybe the following week if he does indeed get called up. Nothing really changed on the Dodgers. Miami, I'm surprised they didn't call up Snelling, but they got Mazer pitching. I think he's been up. Yeah, he's not really anybody special there. Miami, McSweeney, Morgan McSweeney. I mean, that guy's he's a journeyman guy. I mean, I guess he's done okay, but maybe they have somebody lined up. I don't, like I said, the Snelling pitcher is the one that would be more valuable for Miami. I don't know why they just keep him. Let me just look him up. If he does get called up, Robbie Snelling is and he's 21 years old. He struggled last year, but he's pitched. Kind of figured it out since he's been to AAA. Made 8 starts, 1.38 ERA, 1.02 WHIP, 54 strikeouts over 45.2 innings, and he pitched pretty good at AA earlier this year. But he stumbled out of the gate. But last year when I think it was in San Diego, he kind of really blew up and kind of struggled. But I don't know why that they would list somebody else. Like he was the one that should get called up. But yeah, but maybe he gets called up tomorrow. Looks like Weathers is floating around for the following week. Let me just see Weathers, because Weathers is in the free agent pool. Let's see, what did he do in the minors? So he's last start, it wasn't that great. He gave up 2 2/3 innings, 2 runs, 6 base runners. He had 6 strikeouts and gave up a home run. But he is a player that he potentially could be up, stretch him out, and maybe catch a couple weeks out of him. He could be up next week, at the end of next week. So Weathers is, if you're lining up pitchers down the road, but he still has to get stretched out. Milwaukee, same pitchers. I think, like I said, Woodruff's kind of going the wrong direction for me. Bradley looks like he's in there. Looks like Abel's out. We talked about the Mets guys. Not much there. And New York the same. Philadelphia, nothing changed. Pittsburgh, nothing worth talking about. And look, San Diego's the same. Seattle's the same. The Giants, it looks like they're going to call up. I thought they would call up Birdsong, but they got to look like this Tang guy here. So let me see if Birdsong. Actually, Birdsong had given up a couple games. I don't know what happened in his last one. Sometimes I lose track of him. So actually, Birdsong pitched on the 26th, so he would be scheduled, unless he pitched today. He pitched 5 shutout innings with 2 hits, 4 walks, 7 strikeouts. So he potentially could be up, but it looks like they have Tang confirmed. But the Seymour guy, came up yesterday, and he's not really anybody that's. I don't think he's any more like a journeyman type of guy. So he's 26. Yeah, he wasn't really anything. So I think Birdsong might get called up too this week. I mean, if he didn't pitch today, and they're going to call up the Tang arm, I think Birdsong is worth somebody that you might be able to get 3 weeks out of. If you're trying to get somebody, he has some whip risk has strikeout ability, but there is also upside there. So let me go back to see how that other Tang did for San Francisco, because I really looked at him first, and I don't like this guy, and then he struggled in the majors, didn't look much, but he did strike out 89 batters in 57 innings in the minors this year. He only gave up 3 home runs, and his whip was okay. So after they called him up, it looks like he maybe piggybacked Birdsong in his last game. Pitched 3 innings, gave up 1 run, had 3 strikeouts and 4 base runners. But I think there's more to him, and if he's putting him in there, like, he could surprise. But he hasn't reached, and he didn't pitch more than 5 innings in many of these games, and he made. He's pitching more in like long relief. Only 4 starts for this year at AAA. Yeah, I guess that he, even though they list him as a starter, maybe he's an opener, but maybe they're going to call up him and Birdsong together and piggyback him. So just a thought that, like, Birdsong, I would give a shot. I don't know. I don't see enough of innings for him, and his stats look kind of bad. And is he truly going to make 2 starts this week? I don't know. St. Louis will need somebody over here. I don't know who they're going to go with. Hauser stinks. Boyle pitched better in the minors, but he was horrible. Latz is being extended for Texas. I think he's maybe this third game that he's, the next one will be his third game. So he's made 2 starts, 4 and a third, 3 and a third, 4 and a third, up to 66 pitches over the last 2 games. He gave up 2 runs. He had 9 strikeouts. Pitched pretty good in the bullpen for Texas this year. So I think that he's worth, Eovaldi is hurt. So I think that he's, probably be up to 5 innings in his next game, facing Arizona. The following week, he would face double starts. How's that for exciting? Double starts against Milwaukee and then at the Mets. So I don't know if I want to go there, but, beggars can't be choosy. And if you're going to double, pretty much nothing much for Toronto. And let's just look at Alvarez over here for he's going to get called up tomorrow for too many walks for him for I doubt he's in the free agent pool. He's never pitched a major. So that's pretty much it for the starters that I see, other than the outliers and stuff like that. So but it's just an ongoing battle, and and so a lot of times when I go to the free agent pool and start doing leagues, I might come up with a name or two, but there's really like 3 or 4 hitters, and there's probably more pitchers than better than expected this time of year, because a couple of those guys for 2 or 3 of them could be really helpful, and we'll see how they do, and we'll see who else the other teams drop, because sometimes the other people drop players that potentially could help. And those beaten up veterans or something, sometimes they surprise. So good luck on the waiver wire, and again, appreciate for anybody that's kind of hanging in there. And it is what it is, and hopefully we can drive the bus home and pick up some checks at the end of the year.